All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Building Public Livestream. This week, we're going to be looking into how to set up all the Shardeum services using a script that kind of automates the process for us. We're going to go through the existing script and we're going to see if we can identify some areas of modification or areas of improvement that we can make to the script. But first, I want to explain to you what the script is, why it's important, and how it helps you as a contributor, who's trying to contribute to Shardeum. So I've made a tiny diagram here. If you look at this, say for instance you want to contribute to the validator GUI, which is like the UI that allows you to manage your nodes on Shardeum. So let's look at that repository. So this is the validator GUI repo, and say for instance you want to start contributing, or you want to change something, or you want to make some kind of modifications to this code base. You'd ideally read through the README to kind of get an idea of the prerequisites and how to set up the local environment. If you're looking at it, you can see that out of the box, you need to account for the Shardeum server, the JSON RPC server, and the Shardeum validator CLI. So this is a common thing that I think open source contributors run into when they're trying to make contributions to any code base, is the level of configuration that you need to do, or the level of setup you need to do, and all the environments and all the different services you need to have running before you actually get to the point where you make your actual contribution. It can be a lot, right? So what we've done is we've created this local setup script that should set up all of these things for you, for instance, right? And we can always continue to add more services to it, depending on the project you're working on or the code base you want to contribute to. So this is the setup script. So what it does, actually, let me go to. So I have it locally. So let's just go there. So this is the script. What it does is it sets up like a local environment with all of those services that we talked about. I think I have it running, so I'm just going to stop it and start it again. Let's see. I'm gonna check the browser, see if I have. Yes, so I do have it running, so I'm going to stop it. And then I will start it again. So let's do local Shardeum. Then I'm going to do Shardeum stop. If it's too tiny, just let me know and I will zoom it in a little bit more. Actually, I'm going to get rid of all of this. So I think it's done now. Let me just verify by refreshing. Yeah, it's done. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you how to use this script to set up a local development environment for working with the different services and the different Shardeum open source projects. To be able to execute it, ideally what you want to do is, if you're cloning this for the first time, let's say that you just did git clone and you opened it up in VS Code or whatever code editor you use, you could just do chmod x and you want to do the setup.sh, right? So you can make it executable, and once you run that, you should be able to then do setup.sh. I think I'm in the, because I deleted it, I'm not in the right directory. Let's do, I think it's here. I'm gonna grab all of this. Yes. All right. So if I run the setup script again, it takes a while because it's going to kind of set up all of these services for us. So while that's happening, I'm just going to try to walk you through what the script itself actually does. Now, starting from the top, we have the shebang, and then it tries to check if you have NVM set up and have NVM working on your local machine. If you don't, it will set it up for you. And then it kind of initializes all the different projects that it wants to set up. And the next thing it does, it checks if your node modules and your package.json are on the same version. Why we need to do this is because we have sometimes, let's say for instance, you already have a local Shardeum network running and you don't want to like repeat the installation and set it up again from scratch, and you want to reuse your existing installation, you can also do that. So this function helps us check for that. So that point so far, I think what we've done is basically just starting the Shardeum environment setup, just setting up the environment. From this point, we want to start setting up the individual project repositories themselves, right? So first we clone the Shardeum repository, and then we install the dependencies, and then we do a little bit more like environment setup. Here, we have two functions to check if you're using Linux or you're in Mac OS, because you need to have some build essentials set up, like Rust. We need the Rust toolchain. So we install that, and just a couple of other things that it happens behind the scenes. Another thing that you can do to better make sense of the setup script is to look at the Shardeum, I think, the Shardeum server repository. And if you look at the README file, basically what we're doing in that script is everything that is already here, right? I'm going to go to the environment. Where is it? Yes, the setting up of the environment. So it's in this page. So what we're doing, as you can see, is we do the NVM setup. We set up the Rust toolchain. We set up the build essentials. And then we get to the actual project itself. So we set up the project. We do the network configuration, applying the debug patch. We run the network. So basically all of these things that ideally you would have to do yourself is what the script is doing for you. So that's what we're doing here. We're installing the build essentials. If you're on Mac, we do the brew update and install the GCC. And when we're done doing that, I think the next thing we do basically is we do npm CI. So this is the part that takes the longest. I'm guessing that's probably the point where the script is at the moment. Yes, so in installing dependencies, right? So that's the part that takes the longest. And if you're on this stream, then you might be happy to know that we have a new update that is coming out that is going to reduce the amount of time it takes to install these dependencies. So I think at the moment when you run npm CI on the Shardeum repo, on the Shardeum server, it takes about anywhere from 5 to 10, maybe some 15 minutes. Can we just easily get a repository so we can run one command and input our details? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but yes, the Shardeum repository is here. Maybe Shuam or Sonia, just grab this link and put in the chat. Or if it's the setup script you're talking about, you could grab this one and put in the chat for them. Yeah, so all of the repos are like open source and public, so you can definitely play around with them as you wish. All right. So let me get back to this. So what I was trying to say is I was trying to give you some kind of insider tip. Is there's a new update coming to Shardeum that is going to slash the time it takes for npm CI to work. At the moment, it's around 5 to 10 minutes. But after that update, which I think should be coming out this week or next, it would happen in less than a minute. You know, you can install all of that. So that's really, I'm excited for that. I'm looking forward to that because I work with this repo a lot and I have to sit and wait for the installation for a very long time. Anyhow, once the npm dependencies are done installing, the next step is to apply the debug patch, the debug configuration. There's a message in the chat like you set up the script, so we run the command and just set things we need to impute. I use a VPS. Okay, so this is a different setup. This particular setup is for local development. So if you're trying to contribute to Shardeum, like you want to contribute code, or you want to add a new feature, or you want to play around with the code yourself and just see how everything works locally, that's when you need to do this. If you're trying to run a Shardeum validator on a VPS, it is completely a different thing. That's not what we're talking about today. But yeah, if you do have questions about running a VPS, put it in the open source chat. Let me see if I can link that for you. Probably not in the open source chat, because that's what we want to do there is just talk about open source and contributions. Shwam, you're on the call. Please link newbie to the right place to ask questions about running a validator node. I think we have one. Let me see if I can find one. I think we have a support channel for that. Okay, node operators. Yeah. So newbie, that would be the right place to ask questions about, running a validator on a VPS, and if you like really face any challenges, that would be the right place to ask. So this stream is mostly about for engineers and developers that want to contribute. This is what we're doing today. All right. So moving on, when our dependencies are done installing, the next step is to apply a debug patch. Ideally, you can do, we have a debug configuration. Let me see if I can find that on the, yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, so you can run this command. As you can see, actually, we're still kind of following the same process that we have documented on the README. So you do a git clone, you change directory into the Shardeum server, you npm CI, and you apply the debug patch. In our case, instead of running this command to apply the debug patch automatically, we are manually using sed to create the file and modify it and put in the right values that we want. And then when we're done with that, we do npm run prepare to kind of like prepare all the things that we've set up and prepare the code base for execution. After that, we check that we have schedules, and if we don't, we install it and install the archiver. After that, we start the local network of 10 nodes, right? Which again is in accordance with what we have documented here. You do npm run CLI. Once it's done, you install schedules and the Shardeum archiver. So this is a newer addition because okay, this is part of the addition I was talking about, where we're using the Shardeum Foundation npm packages. Before it's the Shardeum archiver, but yeah, we've not gotten there yet. After that, you then start your network of 10 nodes, right? So let's get back to the code base. So once you run Shardeum start 10, it's going to kick off a network of 10 nodes for you running locally on your machine, and you can immediately go check it out on your browser to see it working. But again, remember, we're setting up all of Shardeum's different services so that people can very easily develop locally. So when we have the network of 10 nodes working, we do a cd, come back to the local directory, and then we continue up to set up the JSON RPC server. We do a git clone, change into that directory, and do an npm install. After installation completes, we are going to compile and run the node pm2.js1 to start one archive, one JSON RPC server. After we start that server, you have to wait for a few seconds. The reason why we want to wait is that it takes a couple of seconds for the RPC server to find archivers in the locally running network that it can connect to. Once it connects to that archiver, the JSON RPC server will be up and running, and we move on to the next service. The next one is the validator CLI. Again, some of these things you really do not need. So if you're, for instance, trying to just work with the Shardeum server. Maybe you want to debug something or you want to make changes to it. You don't need the validator CLI for that. So in your case, you could definitely like remove this step, the validator CLI step, if you really just want to work on the JSON RPC server, for instance. Let's say that you want to add a new API method or a new any kind of changes that you could make. The JSON RPC server is also open source and available, so you can look at it. I think we have some logged issues, some issues there that we logged that you can also like look at and try to contribute to. So in the case where the primary code base you're working on is the JSON RPC server, you could likely also stop this script here. Once you have a locally running Shardeum network and you've set up your JSON RPC server, that would primarily be all you need to start contributing. All right. But in our case, we want to contribute to the GUI, or you could be doing working on any other code base that requires the CLI to be working. So in that case, you just continue with the installation. Again, you clone the validator CLI, you do a symlink to the validator, and then you do npm CI once again to install all the dependencies, and then you you add these values to the normally this would be it will also be documented. So when you're looking at the script or you're trying to make sense of what it does, my advice would be to always check the individual repositories that it's cloning. All the readmes are very well documented, so it makes it like really easy for you to get an idea of what the script is trying to do. So looking at this, it's basically the same thing that's happening in the script. You clone the repository, you set up the symlink, you install the dependencies and link them, and then you do your local network configuration. So this part, basically, I mean, if you look at this code here, it's almost exactly the same thing with this one that we have here, right? So basically that's what it's doing. It's just going to repeat the processes of the setup that we have documented in the different project readmes, and it's going to do that for you locally. The goal, once again, is just to ensure that you don't have to do these things yourself. You can just run a command and sit back and come back to it a couple minutes later, and you have 5 to 4 different code bases all set up, all connected, all working together for you. And then when we are done with the validator CLI, we set up the validator GUI. Remember from the onset that the work we are trying to do here is to get to the validator GUI, because that's where we want to contribute. That's where we want to make changes. That's where we want to, basically write our code. But in order to get the GUI working locally, we need to have the CLI, the Shardeum server, and the JSON RPC server as well working. So finally, we get to the GUI and we repeat the same process. The GUI is kind of similar to all the other previous ones that we've done. Again, if you look at the repository, and I think it's on the dev branch. Yeah, so you see that in order to set up the GUI, we needed all of this. And once we have that, we clone the repository, we install the dependencies, we set up an environment variable with these values, and we link the operator CLI. If you look at the code base, that is precisely what is happening, right? We do a git clone, we change into it, we install the dependencies, we set up the environment variables, and we run build and we run start. And that should now complete our setup. By the time we get to this point, we would have already set up the Shardeum validator server, we would have set up the JSON RPC server, the validator CLI, and the validator GUI. And that would be it. So let me see how far we've come with the script execution. I think it is installing dependencies. Yeah, so this is what I mentioned before. The updates that we have coming out will cut the time of this installation significantly, if probably by like 95%, so that it's a little bit easier to do. So while that's happening, what I want to do is, hello, hi Matt, how are you doing? Happy New Year. Um, so while that is happening, what I'm going to do is I want to create a new script here. This is something that I was going to do towards the end of the stream. But while the dependencies are being installed, I think we can get around to doing it. Okay, looks like the script installation is going really fast. All right, so what I want to do is create a new script that we can use to check the status of all the services that we have. So let's do that. I think we can probably just call it check status, as the name implies. .sh. Why I want to do this is because sometimes when you're developing locally, especially if you're using the setup scripts, you might want to know which of your services are up and running and the ones that are not, right? Because it creates all of these services for you. It starts the services. You really don't see any logs because like it just starts the services and moves on to the next one. So this function is going to make it really easy. More like this script that we want to set up is going to make it really easy to know which services are running, the ones that are not. Okay, looks like it's setting up our local network of 10 nodes. Let's see. All right, so our local network is correctly set up, running on localhost 3000. It's setting up the JSON RPC server just as we talked about. Setting up the validator CLI and then the validator GUI. Let's see. The setup is complete. Your local Shardeum environment is ready. Just some errors in the logs, but it's showing after the setup is complete. So I'm guessing that will not affect us. So let's see. Localhost 3000. I will do cd local. Yeah, I'm seeing some errors here. Next dev. Packet.json. It looks like it's about the GUI, but let me see first if we have charges pm to list. It looks like we have the Shardeum should be working. I'm just going to start it again. Stop and clean. All right, so let's do Shardeum start 10. Okay, so we can do it again. So while that is happening, I'm going to set up the check status function. I think the first thing we want to do is probably do the shebang. If there's any confusion or any question at any point, just let me know in the chat. I will see it and I'll pick it up. /bin bash. So the first thing we want to do is definitely do the echo checking Shardeum status. Yeah, this is good. I'll go with that. And then we want to check the port of the validator GUI, or maybe actually, okay, let me see. Looks like our network monitor is done. So let me try it again. I think it should work. Yeah, here we go. Perfect. So we have our validator running locally now with a network of 10 nodes. Let's see the validator GUI. I think that's where we were seeing the other errors before in the logs. see if it's on. Where is it? Yeah, the logs are so far down, I can't actually even find it. Okay. I'm going to continue setting up the status script. I'll check the validator GUI later on. So let me put a log here, or kind of let me comment this out as a status. See, check if validator is running. No, I want to check if the GUI is running. Right, so let's do if list of open files. I'm just going to accept all the help I'm getting from the code editor. Dev null is 8081. I'm not quite sure if that is where the GUI is running. You know what, since I have the validator running on 3000, let's start from there. Check if the Shardeum network. If it is, let's echo the network is running. No, actually no, I want to echo a different thing. How do I show a... I wonder if I can use like an emoji in the logs. I'm gonna try to copy one. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so but I'm going to switch this, copy this one, put it here, and cut that one and put it here. Right, so Shardeum network is running on port 3000. Otherwise, if there's nothing found on this port, then we're going to say that it is stopped. Okay, that's good. Actually, I'm going to just try it and right away and see what I get. Let's do chmod and check status to make it executable. There, Shardeum network is running on port 3000. Okay. The next one would be, I think we can just really copy and paste most of it. Check if the JSON RPC server is running. On port 8080, it is running. Otherwise, it's not running. That's good. Okay, JSON RPC server is stopped because nothing is found on 8080. Let's do the validator GUI. This is actually a really good way to also know why we are not getting the validator GUI on the browser when we checked. And the last one is the CLI. Okay, let me see on what port the CLI is supposed to be running. Can't quite find it here, so let's see here. This is the... Yeah, I just want to see if there's anything in the docs that tells us oh yeah, I think this is how we'll know. We can run these commands, and if the CLI is working, then that's how we'll know that it's working, that it's up and going. Let's do cd into local validator CLI, and let's do operator CLI start. Permission denied. I wonder why that is. Okay, so our CLI is not running yet. Let me finish this and save to execute this script. Okay, the GUI is running on 8081. The RPC server is stopped. Let me get into it and see why. So let's do. Also, yes. So I was going to mention this before. So all the services that we set up with the script are all available in this .local directory. So for instance, if you wanted to like start developing on the GUI, you can just come into this directory and find the GUI. This is the GUI's code base, and you can start doing what you want to do there. Also, I see why I think there's it didn't set up very well because I'm not seeing the rest of the code files. So this is why we are not able to access it on the browser, right? Let me try that again. It should be running on 8081. Yeah, I think this is why it's not working, because it didn't set up correctly. If you look at it now, you see that there's only like 4 files in it: build nodemodus.env and package lock.json. There's really nothing else. So I think there was a problem with the cloning of this repo. But I will look at the script and fix it. Anyhow, so the .local directory gets created when you run the script for the first time, and then it will git clone and install all the services inside of that directory so that it'll be easier for you to get access to. So let's say that we want to get into the JSON RPC server. I'm going to come here, do cd local JSON RPC server, and since it's not running, let's do npm run prepare. No, not present. Compile. And then I think we can probably do npm run start, if I remember that is the right command. And there we go. We are currently on cycle 11, and we are connected to an archiver. And that's pretty much it. So right now we have the JSON RPC server running, we have the validator server running, and we have the validator GUI running, even though it didn't set up correctly. And that is what we needed to start contributing or building something. So at this point, if you wanted to maybe change something in the RPC server, you could very well come in here. Let's say, where should I look at? Maybe in the API file, right? We have all these methods that you could probably, okay, so we had a project where we added some new methods. I think if you look at the previous live streams, you can find them, where we added a couple new methods to this API file. This could be a good way for you to really understand how to work with these services, because right now, this RPC server, we can connect it to our local, maybe MetaMask instance. And then the transactions that we perform, we can look at how the validators in the network are processing those transactions and how they are showing up on MetaMask, right? So that's a good way to, I think we also have a couple of YouTube tutorials and also BIP live streams like this, where we went through all of that process. All right, so that's it. That's what we have for you today. What I would like you to do is, if you have the time or if you'd like to contribute, check out the local setup script. It's on GitHub. You can just come here and see it. Set up all these services play around with it, see if you run into any issues. If you do run into issues, just create an issue on GitHub for us so that we can look at what is wrong, what is not working, and we can fix it. I see someone in the chat is asking for the POAP. Yes, we do have a POAP. Let me just quickly go ahead and set it up. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that is the last thing on the agenda for today. I'm going to set it up and share it in the chat. I think we are actually even over time. Wow, I wasn't looking, I was just setting up the whole thing. Okay, creating the POAP form now, and I will share with you all in a minute. It will be, I think this will be BIP 25, maybe. Yeah, BIP 25. And let's do settings. Okay, I'll put the link in the chat and you click it and let me know. All right, check the POAP form in the chat. Let me know if you have access to it, or try to submit and see if it's still accepting responses. I turned it on, but you never know until you try. Yeah, I think it should be accepting responses for sure. So the POAP form is going to be on for 10 minutes, and then we're going to turn it off, as we want to make sure that only people who are on this call get access to the POAPs. All right, have you tried it? Someone let me know in the chat if it's working. Down? Somebody said down. What does that mean? Oh, done. Okay, so that's it then. So I've set the POAP form to close after 10 minutes. So if you haven't claimed your POAP, go do it now. And that's the end of the stream. Sonia, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you want to share before we end it?
I believe you have covered it all. Thanks everyone for joining.
Perfect. And if you want to keep in touch with us or you want to explore more ways to contribute, please check out the open source channel. That's where we talk about things regarding open source and contributions. We received a really good contribution this week, I think probably. Let me see if I can find it. It's GitHub network status. There's a pull request that came in from a community member. It added light mode and dark mode toggle to our network's status site, which is really good. So we are about to merge this in, and this person will likely win the Contributor of the Month award from Shardeum, and we're going to send them that when it's done. So this could be you. So if you'd like to contribute, please look at our open source project, look at any of the issues and try to contribute, help us to build Shardeum. If you don't see any open issue that you'd like to contribute to, try to open an issue yourself. If you play around with repositories, I'm sure you will find something that is broken somewhere that you can help us fix. And we will, make you the contributor of the month for that period. So Thank you all, and we will see you next time. There's a question in the chat. Will I need a degree in blockchain? No, no, I don't have a degree in blockchain. I don't think Sonia has a degree in blockchain. But you can definitely find something that you can work on. It could be the documentation, you can help us with improvements there. You definitely don't need a degree in blockchain to contribute in any way. So that's it for today. Thank you all, and we will see you next time.